Okie dokie. Alan Matthews here again. This is number 3 in our 7 video set on how to learn pieces easily and quickly. And this level right here is all about the rhythm. And notice that we haven't even looked at the notes yet. We looked at them to see that we know them. We've looked at the dynamic markings. We've looked at all the words and everything else. Now we look at the music, the actual rhythm of the music. And so the first thing that we do is not pick up and start playing the notes. The first thing we do is we look at the rhythm. And why is that? The reason is that even a 2-year-old will know if you mess up the rhythm. We know rhythm instinctually. It's in our genes and in our blood. It's in our bones. We know good rhythm when we hear it. We know bad rhythm when we hear it. Even people who say that they don't have rhythm, and even if you're a terrible dancer, you still know if the rhythm is messed up on a piece of music. The notes, I can fool you with the notes. I can play a wrong note and maybe you don't notice it because maybe you don't know the music. But the rhythm, we know when the rhythm is bad. And so rhythm comes first and foremost. In the beginning, there is rhythm. And so let's take a look at some rhythm right here. So in looking at the rhythm, we're just going to take just this section right here that we defined in our last step, and we're just going to look at the rhythm right in here. And the main thing that we want to do whenever we're counting rhythm is that we want to count aloud. With your mouth, with sounds coming out of it, with your lips moving. And a lot of people have issue with this, and if you do, you should just get over it. Because what happens is, if you're not counting aloud, that whenever you get into any kind of confusing spot in your mind, you stop counting, and then you start counting again, and you wonder, how did this go? Because I was counting in my head, but you're really not counting in your head. So the only way to really keep track of it is to count aloud. So now that we know that you're going to be counting aloud, we want to look right here. In the part before, we realized we're in 3/4 time, so we're going to count with this one, 1 and 2 and 3 and on and on. That's not lined up with that. But because we have eighth notes, we're going to count eighth notes. So if all we had was quarter notes, then we could count quarter notes. If there were 16th notes, we'd be counting 16th notes. And if you need help counting, then you can get with your teacher or email me or whatever you need to do. So in doing this, you want to clap the rhythm that you've got going on here while counting aloud with it. And so for this one, it would be, I'm just going to draw here with it. It would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3, 1, 3 and 1. Great. And so just counting aloud, making sure that you've got the exact rhythm that you want going on. And just for this one little section, don't be tempted to go on. Just stay with just this little bit. Once you've got that, you want to put this as close to the tempo as possible. And so if you know that this is a particular tempo, then get the rhythm all the way up to that tempo. If it's a fast piece, stay right here doing this rhythm until you can get it quickly. Once you go and add notes back into it, you'll be slowed down again just because of the hands working, but just to get the feel of it. Now the next part of the rhythm, and this is a little bit more advanced, but it really is where the true music is, and that is to start adding inflection and actual music to your rhythm counting. And so if you'll notice, here we have these little accents right here. And so to begin with, then we'll just count those louder or clap them louder. So if we're going to clap it louder and say it, it would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2, 3 and 1. So that you're making the accented ones louder. So this comes into articulation, it comes into inflection. It's these issues. If you've watched my video on the long short, you could put that in there. If not, you could watch the long short. If you've watched my videos on upbeats, you could do this big upbeat right there leading to that. So there's all this kind of things. You could use your dynamics to get across the bar, to get around this smoothly. You could do, to make your curve around the high notes beautiful.
Baron did this a little bit. You could start doing all this with, and that's more advanced and it's not the scope of this video, but this would be a good time to start looking at all those different things that will go into making this a beautiful phrase. And so while the guitar is still out of your hand, you can be looking at some of them as just a score, as just, okay, what's going to go on here? Here we have a high note we need to get around right here. Here we have a descending line moving to that bass note right there. It's like, so there's all these different things. Here we have a long note. Here we have, there's just all this kind of stuff going on. And so depending on the level of your playing, then you could start looking at that stuff there. If all you've got is the rhythm and then you're ready to move on, then by all means, move on. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then don't worry about it. Or you can go back and watch some other videos, things like that.
Awesome. So to recap, we had in step 1, we made our small sections, manageable sections. Number 2, we looked at all the notes and the musical markings. Number 3, we looked at the rhythm. And so now we should be pretty solid on the rhythm. Ideally, all the way up to tempo, like I said. So now we get to move on to number 4, which is the right hand. So let's move on to that. See you there.